Hey, what's up? Okay, I'm gonna try and keep this as like a quick round update video where I just talk about a bunch of mini stuff that don't constitute for a whole video, just like a mini mention in a video. First off, renting for Chicago is done. Paid my first rent, paid my first amount of rent. I don't even know how to phrase that, but that should be done. Just making sure everything's good with the landlord now. But besides that, stuff are looking good. Also, job stuff just looking good in general for the start of the internship. So I'm really grateful to God for that and just all of that sorted out. Thankful to my parents as well. Um, but it's looking good. Besides that, working on version two, V2 of the RAG system for SGB. I have to come up with it. Like the name is Rio, but like when I say Rio, I don't feel like that like the system pops up into my head at least. Let me see if I can pull it up on the screen real quick. Yeah, so right now it's not working, but this is what it's looking like. It's kind of meant to mimic ChatGPT's. Let me just make sure I go on the screen. Yeah, it's meant to like mimic the ChatGPT interface. This honestly, the what I need for the UI really, it's not even like looking into. I just say, hey, Gemini, um, do this UI, just make it look like this. Obviously, when I get the backend stuff done, then I can actually start looking to UI, making stuff look good. Like for example, like if you look closely enough, some stuff looks squished and it's just not formatted properly. So obviously, spend more time with the UI and break it down. But for now, that's good enough. Besides that though, the coding stuff is going well. I love the idea of having a project. A project also has impact on people, so also really cool. Um, but yeah, I'm really happy with that. Really grateful. Next thing though is something I've been thinking about for a minute is VR, right? Because I started playing on my VR headset, I believe yesterday or 2 days ago. I'm trying to think of, yeah, my Oculus Quest 2, right? Or Meta Quest 2. Yeah, Meta Quest 2. And it's really cool. Really cool device. Really great game. I only play like one or two of them. I remember the one I've been playing recently is Super Hot Fire. A couple months back I was playing on Beat Saber. I was thinking like I really want VR as like technology to be more popular because if it's more popular, more money goes into it and more innovation happens in that field. Um, but I don't think it's there yet. I think it's really interesting. I think there was I think a couple years back with the whole meta thing. There's a lot of hype around it, but then kind of died down. Like you don't see anyone really talk about like any VR games unless you're in that space, right? Like to give a comparison, if I'm not person who plays PS5, but I see a lot of stuff about the PS5 and this game, so like Elden Ring, Marvel Rivals, even that's not exclusive. I don't even think Elden Ring is exclusive. But the point is, you hear a lot about PS5 games without being in the space of PS5 players, right? I think for VR that's just non-existent. I think that's really sad because I think VR is a great technology. It's very immersive and it's just really fun. But I think what I'm even more interested in is like the VR art space, specifically the medium of comics within VR. I think as it stands now, there are stuff. I remember I was playing I was using an app, I forgot what it was called. And it was this VR comic about astronauts and they found this alien specimen and then there was glazing it like saying, "Oh, this is really cool. This species must have been so smart. They must have never have had wars." Blah blah blah. Really just saying like how great the species was and like how they imagined how perfect their world would be. And the plot twist is that it's meant to be a human at the end, and it's a good comic. It looks nice, but I think what I find interesting is that I feel like a lot of VR comics are 2D comics translated to VR. I think that's my major issue with them. I think I want to see like a medium of VR comics where it just feels very immersive. Like the first thing that comes to mind immediately is if you've ever read Vagabond, which I suspect many people haven't. Like just like imagine a scene from there, just like we're in the field of grass. Like you can see like two people like doing a sword fight. I think that could be really interesting. Just have a lot of I don't know, it could be another way to storytell. You could do a lot of world building. 'Cause I think that's something that does suck as well. And like when you turn like a story through the 2D medium of like animation, it's hard to like do a lot like you can't tell a story through a lot of the scenes because you have to like you're limited to the amount of scenes you can show. But if you're using like VR, you could like tell a player song, the user could walk through a whole VR world and get so immersed in that story. It could be like the perfect blending of a video game and it could be the perfect blending of a video game and like an animation or a series or a show. I think that could be really interesting. Just like having like stories like you don't have to like there's no linear path to interacting with them. And then like once you want to have like a major event, like a canon event, whatever you want to call it, you can have like these like signals, and like you can have like a big thing. Like, I imagine like if I like watching animation, that's like where my head is at. Like if you wanted to continue the story, you can have like some major like lightning strike and like that attracts the viewer's attention. This was gonna be just me talking about like VR and comics, but I think it's turned into like think of how I could make a VR immersive medium. I think it's really interesting. I think there's a lot to be tapped in there. And I also think another aspect is like, I don't think AI is gonna overtake art anytime soon. I don't think, um, regardless of like, there's probably like sub niches of art where it's like, oh yeah, AI can, is probably easily do that pretty soon, or is already doing that. But I don't think like there's any like like how this is like I don't think AI is gonna do it's gonna like I don't think you could replace all your animators in an animation studio and have AI do that. I don't think that's ever like I don't think that's really gonna be the case, right? For most industries. But I definitely think with this new medium, technically I don't see AI coming for that anytime soon. So maybe that's hopefully that's something if people are looking to escape the AI phase or whatever, or the AI frenzy. That could be something people look into. I don't know. I think I want to talk about it more because it's not something I don't, I know it's not something I think I want to build, but it's something I want to see. I think that's a weird relationship with that's a weird relationship. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's an exciting idea. I think it's an underutilized field. I think there's a lot that could be done. Just like in just so crazy. I think like just imagine like take any like fantasy show and just like place it like rebuild it in VR. I think you could have something really amazing. Like just say like frying. I'm saying that wrong, but frying maybe like Lord of the Rings never really lost it completely. Just like so much can be done. I think it would be really really amazing. Like you could even break away from the linear storytelling pattern that like a lot of games and shows have to stick to, right? It wouldn't have to be linear, I guess. I think it could be that opens the door to like so many types of stories that you could tell, and then it's just really interesting. You can have like I don't know, you can have so many characters that like you interact with, and you find out about their stories in your own timeline, I guess. So it's not like, oh, okay, I learn about character A story, then character B story, like I learn how they interact. I can learn about character C story, and then as I'm doing something one day, I learn about character A story, and like some event happens. But I think that involves a lot of you just have to make the characters really dynamic. I think that's where AI comes into the picture of like, oh, how do you make like these NPCs, AI, and then that could be. I think even going back to the original idea of VR not being very mainstream, I guess I think a lot of it comes to like there's no major VR game that I think gets people attracted into the technology. Like let me just stick with Meta. With the Meta Quest, right? There's no like major game I can think of right off my head where I'm like, okay, I want to buy Meta Quest for this. Like for PS5, I know I'm very tempted to get the PS5 for like let's say God of War. That's just like a media game. I was love to get it for even like Marvel Rivals, even though it's not an exclusive game. With Nintendo Switch, it's like easy. Or Nintendo Switch 2 is an easy thing to do. You can think of like oh maybe like Super Smash Bros. Even that's a Nintendo Switch, or Mario Kart 9, or whatever it's called, like Mario Kart World or whatever. Mario, oh, it's like you have to have like these games where like it really attracts people because I don't think Beat Saber is a really, really fun game. I don't want to like underemphasize how fun Beat Saber is, but it's not a game where I could see someone say, like, let me just buy MetaQuest because of Beat Saber. I think that's something like the immersive storytelling I was talking about, and I feel like that could be something that I think people would really dig and say, like, okay, let me get MetaQuest because like this is really spectacular. It could be its own GTA 6 in a way. Um, I think another aspect of it is like how. Cause another thing you have to also account for is like the reason I think I don't see a lot of such content online like on Instagram is because I think actually no, on YouTube at least or on Twitch even though I don't use it that much. It's 'cause I think a lot of it's copyright strike. So I think that's another aspect of like how um how shareable is the content on VR. I think that's something that's really interesting. Like maybe VR should have its own social media because then or maybe that's like too niche. Because I know like the reason I still play games sometimes like if there's I still play Minecraft or Marvel Rivals is because like I'm reminded to play them by like seeing memes about them like just seeing content someone just like laughing about it or making like a niche joke about that game or just making content like imagine like oh yeah I have this game maybe I should go play like it encourages me to play, but like for VR, there's nothing like that. And even if you take a clip of a VR playing like on put on Instagram, it doesn't have the same immersiveness of VR. So it doesn't replicate the feeling. And since it doesn't replicate the feeling, then it's like I don't know, there's a mismatch there. So that's another aspect. But those are just my thoughts. Really interesting stuff. But besides that, I have nothing else to say. So have a great day.